Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, March 8th. A very active weather pattern continues for much of the nation, and especially here in the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S. We have a low-pressure area that will bring some precipitation to the Mid-Atlantic region on Wednesday. Looks like a snow-rain mix, and certainly there are some possibilities of snow accumulations, especially in the northern and western suburbs of the big cities along the I-95 corridor region and points to the north and west of there, as is often the case this time of the year, especially with daytime snow events. Best chances for accumulations will be on grassy surfaces and in those northern and western suburbs as compared with the urban areas, especially in any higher elevation northern and western suburb. That certainly is a favored zone for accumulations in this kind of a weather pattern. Then we have another very, very active cold frontal passage coming early in the upcoming weekend. We'll kind of talk about that over the next few minutes, because to me there's a lot of potential for some extreme winds associated with that whole event in the Friday night to Saturday night time period. Potentially damaging wind gusts are certainly on the table, and on the backside of the front it could be a change over to snow in much of the interior part of the Mid-Atlantic region and Northeast U.S., and maybe all the way down to the coast, and we'll talk about that over the next couple of minutes and certainly focus in on that over the next few days. Wanted to kind of decipher plenty of different parameters in the latest 0Z run of the GFS model. This is the operational run of the GFS from last night, and wanted to focus in on several different parameters, including right here the upper level winds at 250 millibars. A lot going on with respect to jet streaks. This is actually the forecast map for this morning, and there is a very strong upper level jet streak in the northeastern part of the nation today. You'll see plenty of high clouds today associated with this particular jet streak. Cirrus clouds way up there in the upper part of the atmosphere. But I want to point out what happens at the end of the week and going into the early part of the weekend with respect to that event. And here we are now on Wednesday morning, and an upper level jet streak breaks out here over the Mid-Atlantic region by later in the day tomorrow, and there will indeed be surface low pressure associated with it, supported by this upper level jet streak on Wednesday into Wednesday night. Precipitation could break out towards morning, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line, let's say in the D.C. area, the Delmarva Peninsula, anywhere in the form of rain or snow, and then continue off and on through the day into the evening hours. Now let's push beyond the Wednesday. This is now Thursday morning, and that moves on out of here. Basically Thursday and Friday will be kind of tranquil days and relatively mild for this time of the year, maybe 50 degrees, give or take a few degrees in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Watch what happens here as we get into the early part of the upcoming week, and this is by Saturday morning, just a tremendous jet streak showing up here on Saturday morning. And again, I think this will be a very active cold frontal system, a very impressive cold blast of air Saturday night, Sunday, way below normal temperatures throughout the Mid-Atlantic region of the Northeast U.S. And with this kind of a feature in the upper part of the atmosphere, I really have a concern for extreme winds later Saturday night throughout the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S. I think these could be damaging wind gusts, power outages on the table here. We have several days to kind of focus in on this, but there could also be a changeover to snow, especially in the interior sections of the Mid-Atlantic region and Northeast U.S., and maybe even down to the I-95 corridor region, and perhaps even all the way down to the coast to change over to snow later Saturday behind that next strong cold front. Now here's another interesting parameter to look at. We're looking at the 700 millibar level, several thousand feet off the surface of the Earth here. We're looking at the frontogenesis, kind of an area to look at in the mid-levels of the atmosphere that can contribute to precipitation And if you have an enhanced area of frontogenesis, kind of a difference in temperatures aloft, you can have a kind of a boost in the precipitation. It could come down harder. And on Wednesday, that may be the difference between rain or snow in these bursts of precipitation that I expect to happen on Wednesday, associated with mid-level, mid-atmosphere frontogenesis. Could be a changeover from rain to snow, maybe some small accumulations on Wednesday. Now let's move forward here and watch what I'm talking about. Right here, come later on tonight, early tomorrow morning, this little area right here is pretty impressive band of frontogenesis at 700 millibars as of 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And this could certainly help to cause kind of a burst in the precipitation, a little bit heavier precipitation rate, and that brings down cold air from the upper part of the atmosphere and can change rain to snow. So this is something to watch out for on Wednesday, and it pushes off to the north and east. And watch the frontogenesis associated with that early weekend cold frontal passage. Here we go. This is now Saturday morning. Look at this whole area right here. And again, this is a powerful cold frontal system right here, and it will be a very active frontal passage during the day on Saturday with, again, extreme winds on the table here. And here we go. Look at that. The frontogenesis associated with the Saturday frontal passage here, and that pushes off the East Coast by later Saturday night into Sunday morning. Well, let's also take a look at the vorticity field of 500 millibars. This is the mid part of the atmosphere, and vorticity is kind of an area of spin in the upper part of the atmosphere that can lead to upward motion down at the ground level, and that's where we look for surface low development, precipitation breaking out. And here's the wave of energy here, the vorticity max, as we begin the day on Tuesday. This is the wave that will contribute to Wednesday's event. A little bit of a forerunner of energy aloft by later on tonight, out ahead of the main band here. And then here we go, by tomorrow morning, all of this will contribute to surface low pressure development. It looks like it'll run from Tennessee, across southeastern Virginia, and then out over the open waters of the western Atlantic. Again, aided in part by this upper level energy right here. And then we'll have we'll have a tranquil day on Thursday and on Friday. This is Friday morning, but then take a look at what goes on here by the time we get to the upcoming weekend. This is certainly an impressive looking vorticity field here come Saturday morning. A very strong northern branch disturbance kind of phases in with a southern branch vorticity maxima, and this is one of the reasons why it could very well be a very active frontal passage on Saturday, with rain, perhaps heavy at times, ahead of the front, and a changeover to snow, at least in interior sections behind the front, certainly supported by this kind of a pattern. By the time we get to Saturday evening, a potent upper level system right over the mid-Atlantic region. Could even have a changeover to snow down into the I-95 corridor region, perhaps even all the way to the coast. And again, the possibility for some extreme winds later Saturday night. Well, let's now wrap up with the surface forecast map from the 0Z run of the GFS. High pressure over the middle part of the nation, the Midwest, will expand to the east over the next several hours and move right over the mid-Atlantic region. Cold, partly sunny skies today in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. A lot of high clouds associated with that upper level jet streak. When I talk high clouds, I mean the cirrus type clouds way up there in the atmosphere. Certainly noticeably colder than the record-breaking warmth kind of a day we had on Monday. Much more seasonal today. Still a brisk northwest wind. And here we go. By this evening, a lot of precipitation already breaking out by 7 o'clock tonight across the deep south. And again, with a little bit of energy aloft, you'll get low pressure to form right here over the Tennessee Valley later on tonight. And here it is. By early tomorrow morning, precipitation breaks out. Certainly looks cold enough for snow north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Kind of a snow-rain mix in D.C., Delmarva Peninsula, late tonight, early tomorrow morning. And then that mix of snow and rain south of Mason-Dixon line continues into the afternoon, early evening hours, and primarily snow upstate Pennsylvania during the day on Wednesday, and a snow rain mix in the Philadelphia area. Again, the greatest chance for accumulations will be in those northern western suburbs and on grassy surfaces, and especially in those higher elevation suburbs to the north and west of the big cities. Maybe a coating or so in the suburbs of D.C., coating to a couple of inches possible north and west of Philly, maybe 1 to 3 inches in and around the New York City metro region. Stay tuned for an update on that later on today at arcfieldweather.com. Let's now move ahead. Precipitation as a mix of rain and snow continues into the evening hours. And don't be surprised if there's some sleet that mixes in, especially across southeastern Pennsylvania. There may be a period there in the middle of the day tomorrow where there's a warmer layer aloft that could cause some sleet. Again, especially around Philly or the southeastern part of Pennsylvania midday on Wednesday. Do not expect any freezing rain with this particular system. We just don't have the temperature pattern conducive for freezing rain, namely temperatures at the surface likely not to be below freezing to allow for freezing rain. So primarily snow or rain, but again, there can be some sleet mixed in, at least in parts of the Mid-Atlantic region like the southeastern part of Pennsylvania. Then Thursday and Friday, tranquil days, and let's just take a look here at the possibilities for the upcoming weekend. Here we go by Saturday morning. Now remember, this had a lot of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere. A very strong low pressure area will form along the cold frontal boundary zone. Impressive cold air outbreak. Very cold for this time of the year come Saturday night and Sunday. Let's go out a little bit farther in time here and look at all these black lines here. This is pressure isobars, lines of equal pressure, and the tighter those lines, the tighter the pressure gradient, the stronger the winds. By the time we get to Saturday evening, notice here, first of all, the pressure gradient is very, very rapidly developing low pressure at this time situated over northern New England, and high pressure down in this region. The combination of the two, very, very tight pressure gradient. Look at these lines of equal pressure, very tight. That is a big red flag, in my opinion, for extreme winds later Saturday night, potentially damaging winds. And anytime you're talking potentially damaging winds, you're talking potential power outages. Obviously, we have more on that over the next few days. We have several days to this event. Now, also on the back side of this front, very likely will be to change over to snow in the interior sections of the Northeast. Now, what do I mean by that? Central PA, upstate New York. But could they even change to snow all the way down to the I-95 corridor region, and perhaps even all the way down to the coast? It's something we'll fine-tune over the next few days. By later on Saturday night, extreme winds continue here. Look at the low. And again, we have this difference in pressure from this very, very strong 949 millibar low at this time, 1 a.m. Sunday morning, contrasted with this very strong high, 1030 millibar high here. Tight pressure gradient, extreme winds Saturday night. Watch out and plan ahead for potential for some power outages by the time we get into Sunday. The full blast of that cold air moves in. High temperatures in places like D.C., the urban areas, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, likely confined to the 30s on Sunday, very much below normal for this time of the year. So a very active weather pattern. One storm system to deal with on Wednesday with a snow-rain mix, and some snow accumulations are possible, especially north and west suburbs, especially higher elevation locations, and especially on grassy surfaces. Then a very active frontal passage on Saturday with rain ahead of the front, possible snow behind the front, and very, very strong winds possible, especially behind the front, later Saturday night. Stay tuned to arcfieldweather.com for updates later today, and of course throughout the remainder of the week. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.